Hello everyone, we're going to be taking a quick look at the PS Audio Power Plant 15 power regenerator. We're going to be using a Fluke 435 and measuring the harmonic distortion on the phase to neutral, both the input and the output of the Power Plant 15. The meter being used is a Fluke 435 power quality analyzer, and we'll be utilizing this meter to look at the harmonics that are present on the voltage input to the power regenerator and the voltage out of the power regenerator. Okay, let's jump right into it. Here we have a picture or a screen capture of the Fluke meter on the input going to the P15 regenerator. And just to explain this real quick, you have your total harmonic distortion, which is a little short line on the far left lower corner of the graph. Your 0 to 100% line right over the number 1 is your first order. That would be your line voltage of 120 volts. And every order thereafter is a harmonic that's not part, or really shouldn't be part, of the 120 volt sine wave. So you'll notice the small thin line between the 1 and the 5, which is a third order harmonic. We'll highlight those peaks in the next slide and explain it a little further. Okay, I highlighted again the total harmonic distortion with a little yellow box on the bottom left hand side. The first red box that's at the very bottom of the tall thin line is a measurement point. I move the cursor of the meter over to the third order harmonic to get some values of that measurement. And if you look in the black information boxes up on the top 1/3 of the screen, you'll see H3 indicating that's a third order harmonic. It measured 8.2 volts of the 120 volt sine wave, and it's 6.9% of that 100%, which is the 120 volt sine wave. And it's at a third order of 60 hertz, which is at 180 hertz, and it's also at a 46 degree angle off of the peak point of the normal sine wave. And as you go past the fifth order, there's something really small at about 7th order, and 9th, 13th, 17th down on the chart. There's very little, if any, distortion indicated by the meter. So here is the scope screen from the P15 regenerator, and if you notice on the sine wave, the tops and the bottom are not nice smooth arcs going from the rising voltage down to the decreasing voltage on the other side. All that noise on the top and bottom is distortion. The highlighted distortion points in red are distortion in typical households caused by nonlinear loads, such as the power supplies in PCs, dimmers. If you have a home automation system, such as a Zigbee or Insteon lighting system that turns various circuits in the house on and off, they're injecting and looking for signals to operate those devices. They do create their own bit of noise on your electrical circuits in your house, and this noise can be coming from other houses down the line before the transformer, or I should say after the transformer. So you have a multitude of noise sources adding all this so-called dirty power to your typical electric signal coming in, or voltage coming into your house. Now let's put a regenerator system in line and see what happens. Here we have our after harmonic chart, and it's showing the power coming out of the P15 regenerator has a total harmonic distortion of 1.2% compared to the 6.9% we had on the power going into the regenerator from our house outlet. So it's a 5.7% reduction in total harmonic noise. And as you can see, past the first order fundamental of your 60 hertz, we have no measurable third, fifth, sixth, seventh, and above that, harmonic distortion. So the Regenerator has cleaned up the 60 hertz of the utility power quite a bit, giving us a nice clean, fairly undistorted signal going out to our electronic equipment. Here we're looking at the sine wave on the output side of the Regenerator, and as you can see, the top and bottom peaks have been smoothed out quite a bit, and the harmonic distortion, as we measured before with the Fluke Meter, has been significantly reduced. Now you do have the option in the Regenerator to have the Regenerator concentrate on keeping an accurate output voltage of 120 volts or whatever your mains is configured for, or you can have it concentrate on reducing the harmonics as much as possible and allow the voltage to deviate a little bit from nominal. So the choice is up to you, but right now I have this Regenerator configured for maintaining the output voltage to a tight tolerance and allowing the harmonics to drift around a little bit, which isn't much. I've seen it go from 1.2% down to 0.7 up to about 1.7%. So in summary, let's compare the two sine waves. On the top we have our power into the Regenerator coming from the plug wall outlet, and on the bottom we have the sine wave coming out of the Regenerator going to our home theater amplifier, pre-pro, whatever other devices you plug into the Regenerator, and you'll see they're getting a much cleaner sine wave and a significant reduction in harmonic distortion. Here we have a chart comparing the outlet of the Regenerator compared to the inlet of the Regenerator, looking at the harmonics, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, and seventh orders. You can see the reduction in harmonics that the Regenerator has done to the inlet compared to the inlet power. Significant reduction for what the item advertises that it does. Here we have a picture taken of the screen of the Regenerator. This is your normal home screen. Your large center meter is the percent of improvement that the Regenerator is applying between the inlet power and the outlet to the terminals on the back of the Regenerator. The bottom left hand is your distortion out. Your small middle meter on the bottom is your distortion in from the wall outlet, and then the bottom right hand is the overall power being consumed at the Regenerator. Any one of the smaller meters can be brought up as the larger meter by pressing on it. This is a touchscreen display on the Regenerator, and this is with two amplifiers running, playing a movie at the time. And this is configured right now for maximum voltage regulation, so it's applying all its controls or adjustment to maintain the voltage at 120 volts output, and the rest of it is doing for harmonic distortion reduction. You can configure it so 100% or the larger percentage is for harmonic distortion reduction, and the rest of it would be for voltage regulation, so that would allow the voltage to deviate slightly from your set point rather than keeping the voltage at a fixed 120 volts. But it would also offer a higher reduction in the harmonic distortion. So overall, I'd have to say the P15 PS Audio Regenerator did what they said it was going to do. It takes your line voltage coming in or out of your outlet into the Regenerator, converts it over to DC, and regenerates a very nice looking and clean sine wave on the output from the Regenerator. Intercomponent filtering is also there. Did not see the amount of intercomponent noise and harmonics that you would normally see with other lower cost filtering devices. It is not cheap. It is a costly item, but if you're taking your power quality seriously, it's a good item to add to your home theater or your 2-channel audio listening system. A quick look at the back of the P15 Regenerator panel shows us the multiple outlets we have. Starting from the right to the left, we have our outlets for normal devices, TV, pre-pro, DVR, Blu-ray player, and the 4 outlets on the left are your high current outlets for your power amplifiers. The P15 has a 3600 volt amp rating. Should supply enough instantaneous power for even a demanding amp, and give you good support of power, so you don't have voltage drop off at the amp during peak power requirements. You also have a Ethernet connection and an SD card slot. The SD card slot's used for firmware updates, and the Ethernet allows you to connect to your local LAN and access the P15 through a web interface. And also there is a PowerPlay site on the PS Audio webpage that will record your harmonics and voltage over time. I don't know the elapsed time that it keeps at one time, but it's a rolling replacement, so you'll be able to track your deviations in voltage and harmonics. Just for you guys that like to have data to look at. And naturally on the bottom left hand side is your power input plug and your main power switch. For what it's worth, in my opinion, the P15 or P20 or any one of the other power regenerators that PS Audio makes would be a good addition to your home theater or your 2-channel listening system. It does clean up the incoming power quite a bit, and subjectively, my opinion, again, my hearing is slightly damaged from my career working in power generation. There is a bit of noise, but I did perceive a higher quality to the audio, a little bit more separation on the dynamics of the movie soundtrack, as well as more power. I mean, when there were certain hits, gunshots, explosions, it didn't seem like those events flattened out like they did before with a receiver that I had in place, which was a Denon, pretty high quality one, but there definitely, for me, was a perceived difference in the audio. Before I go, I just want to touch on another possible way noise can get into your house wiring, and using a meter called a broadband EMI meter, and as well as filters supplied by Greenwave and Cytec and several other companies. This noise seems to be at a much higher frequency. The harmonics that we were measuring with the Fluke quality analyzer ranged from the fundamental frequency of 60 hertz up to the 50th order of somewhere around 3,000 hertz. The EMI meter is probably seeing noise on your power line from 10,000 to 20,000 hertz and above, up into the megahertz spectrum, and without having a spectrum analyzer to delve into the signals that may be or may not be on the power line, I didn't want to spend too much time on this. But pictured here is the Greenwave meter. You would plug this meter right into your receptacle coming out of the wall. It will give you a millivolt reading as well as an audible noise that's supposed to be on your lines coming out of the outlet. I have some outlets in my house that's basically on the upper floors. I can vaguely hear a radio station on there. If I plug in their filter shown here, it did reduce the reading on the meter as well as reduce the noise coming out of the little speaker built into the meter. One point to mention is if this item was plugged into the receptacles that are on the same phase that my home theater is being fed from, It did not have any effect on the third and fifth order harmonics that were being shown on the Fluke analyzer, nor did it change the harmonic reading on the P15 Regenerator from PS Audio. So it does, I can't say it doesn't serve a purpose. It does serve a purpose because it did reduce the higher frequency noise that apparently the green wave meter was picking up, but it didn't seem to have an effect on the harmonics that were being read by the Fluke analyzer and the P15 Regenerator, and nor did I perceive any audible difference in the soundtracks from several movies that I played back. Just think of your house wiring as a large antenna. In this illustration above, you see all your internal wiring in your house, through your outlets, lights, ceiling fans, TV, dryer, washer, all your appliances. But if you take away the structure of the house, you have all these wires going up 2 or 3 stories in the air and are able to, or EMI and RFI is able to jump onto these wires and create noise in your house. What appliances will be affected by it? It's hard to tell. Some of your house controllers for lighting and other devices may be affected by the noise on the line. As I've seen in my test with the Regenerator, using a power quality analyzer, these RFI and EMI noises seem to be at a much higher frequency than 3000 hertz, as they didn't show up as a harmonic on the main power coming into you or coming out of your outlet. Also think about solar power. Solar power uses an inverter and is connected to the utility. If you don't have solar power, your neighbor's solar power roof, a house or 2 away, could be injecting harmonics as well as EMI noise on the electric line coming into your house as well as your neighbor's houses. Also, EV cars. You have an EV car and you're charging it up in your house. That could inject electrical noise and harmonics as well. So it's a never-ending battle. Again, I decided to go the Regenerator route because you're taking the harmonics out of your voltage or current coming out of your wall, converting it over to DC, and then recreating a much cleaner AC power source. And that power source happens to be located a lot closer to your home theater equipment or your stereo equipment than the transformer that's out on the power pole that may be 4 or 5 houses, maybe a block away. So that coupled with possibly 1 or 2 of these filters, I can't say for sure that the filters helped out the audio quality of the home theater system, but according to their meter, it did reduce the RFI noise. And in the one instance where on my second floor I was hearing a radio station, when I plugged the filter into the outlet that the meter was into, the radio station disappeared totally, and the millivolts went from 320 down to about 85 millivolts. Plugging in a second filter on another outlet in the room dropped that down to about 40 millivolts. So the filters make a difference using their meter, but I wasn't able to measure it with the Fluke Meter due to the harmonics, the EMI and RFI probably being outside the frequency range of that meter. Probably if I had access to a spectrum analyzer, I could give you some concrete results on that test, but using their handheld meter, their filters do make an audible and measurable difference in millivolts, but no difference on the harmonics that the Regenerator was reducing. Well, this concludes my review, measurements, and opinion of the PS Audio Regenerator, the P15 power plant. I hope you found the information useful. And again, listen with your ears. If your audio system sounds good, maybe you don't need the filtering. But if you question your mains quality and think it may be affecting the audio in your sound system, feel free to give it a look. They do stand behind their product and seem to be a very good company. And I know there's opinions out there on noise regeneration, noise reduction, I should say, and filtering, and that your power supply in your audio equipment should be providing that function as well. And I'm not doubting that it does. I haven't seen anybody or found any YouTube videos yet, I'll keep searching for it, of anybody breaking open their audio equipment and measuring the noise on the DC side of the power supply compared to the noise coming in on the AC plug for that device. But I'm sure the components do their job within your audio equipment, but why make them work hard? If you can give them a nice clean AC source to work with, it'll be less stress on the filtering components in your device, and I'm sure it'll provide a better level of audio and a quieter sound floor on your listening equipment. Take care and have a good day.